there, I'm Cath. My channel is Made by Cath Craft. Welcome to episode 2 of my midweek sewing catch-up. So this is supposed to be quite a chatty vlog, just sharing what I'm up to sewing wise, sometimes knitting wise too, although that's always slower progress. And I did my first one last week and had some really lovely comments, so thank you to everyone who said they enjoyed it. It was really nice to know, so I'm going to try and do it maybe not every week, but pop on as often as I can in the middle of the week and just share what I'm up to. So yeah, that's my plan. I've got a few things to talk about today, but first I will share what I'm wearing. So it's really cold outside today. It's quite sunny, which is nice, but very frosty. I've been out on the school one this morning, and I think one of the mums on the school one said it was -3, so proper cold for here. And I have been living the last few days in sweatshirts and jeans with the cold weather. I know I've kind of just got in a rut of just, reaching for my jeans every morning. But yesterday I filmed my vlog that I'm going to release this coming weekend, and I decided to wear a dress. It was one of the dresses I was talking about in my vlog. And I really enjoyed wearing a dress actually, and I know dresses can be nice and cosy too, so I thought I'd wear a dress again today. And this is a pinafore dress I've layered up to be really cosy. So the top underneath is firstly a Freya top by Tilly and the Buttons, and that's from this book here, the Tilly and the Buttons stretch book. I won't talk too much about this top because I've talked about it quite a few times in other videos, but I make the standard size to it. It's got this sort of mock turtleneck neckline, and it's in a black cotton jersey, which is great for layering. It's really nice and cozy. And then over the top I've got a pinafore that I made I think in maybe autumn last year, and it's a pattern hack, this one, and it's a pattern hack of this pattern here. Get out of my envelope. A pattern hack of the Ogden Cami by True Bias, which is a really nice simple camisole top for woven fabrics. It's got this sort of deep V at the front and the back, and these little spaghetti straps and quite a straight fit. And I think 'cause it's such a simple shape, it's really good for hacking. So for the version I'm wearing today, I cropped it off to just kind of empire line. I'll stand up a bit so you can see. Yeah, I cropped the pattern off to empire line, and I just cut out 2 squares of fabric to make a skirt, and I gathered them in. I think I made the piece of fabric for the skirt 1.5 times the width of the top pieces, so it's not like super gathered. And then I attached them on, and I added pockets too. And when I was attaching them on, because the Ogden Cami has like a little lining piece inside, like a facing that comes down to sort of just below your bust, but I brought it down to the same length as the front piece, and then I basically fully lined the bodice. So I attached the skirt onto the outer piece, and then when once I'd done that, I kind of slip stitched in place by hand the bodice inside, so it's all fully lined on the top, but the skirt isn't lined. But yeah, it's really nice and comfy to wear actually, and the fabric is hard to see, but I'll stand up so you can see it a bit more. It's a really nice viscose twill fabric that is by Mylen the maker, and this kind of like, it's sort of like almost a black colour, but as you can see it's not quite the same colour as the black Freya top, and it's got these sort of large gold loops on, which I think are quite cool. It was quite fun playing about with the pattern placement then when I was cutting the piece out for this pinafore. But I put a picture up of me wearing it. I think I sized up one size when I was making this pinafore. I think I'm usually the smallest size on the Ogden Cami pattern, which might be the size 0. Yeah, that's me. That's chest 32 and waist 26 inches, and the hips aren't critical for this because it's a gathered skirt. So I'm usually a size 0, but I sized up one size because I knew I wanted to layer it, so I wanted to make sure there was a little bit more room in the pinafore for layering. And I also widened the straps slightly so they're not quite spaghetti straps, because I thought that would suit a pinafore a little bit better. But I haven't worn this one that many times actually, so it was really nice getting it out. And the viscose twill by Mylen the maker, I got this from Minerva. I'll link it below, like I will any fabrics I mention in this video, as wherever they're possible. But it's quite a nice substantial viscose twill, so it is perfect for wintry weather. So that's what I'm wearing today. Now I'll mention a few things I've been up to in the last week. So if you saw episode 1 of my midweek sewing catch up, you'll know that for Christmas I got a new pattern, which is the Iris knickers pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. And excuse me if I call them pants. I thought I'd managed to keep calling them knickers in the last episode, because I know pants can be trousers in some places, but that's generally what I call them, so I keep slipping into calling them pants, but they are knickers or panties or however you want to call them. But it's this pattern here by Tilly and the Buttons in collaboration with Evie Lelouve. It's a pants pattern. I really wanted to get it because it has loads of different variations for pants. You can like make a high waist or a mid waist or a low waist, and it's got different leg openings, sort of how high that sits too. So I thought it would be quite a good sort of all-encompassing pants pattern for me to give a go of, and I like tilling the buttons instructions too. And I've never made underwear before. I've done swimwear, which I guess is kind of similar, and when you're making kind of like a bikini bottom, but I'd never done pants before. I wanted to make sure I made some really comfy ones that would actually wear them. So I've got out a load of my jersey scraps, and I think last week I showed you my sort of toile pair, and I cut out the mid-rise and mid-leg opening, I think probably about this one here, version of the pants pattern, and I did it entirely based on my measurements. So I went for a size 2 on the waist, and then I graded out to a size 2.5 on the hips, and I thought I'd just try that and see how it fit. That was exactly based on my measurements. And they fit okay, but I found the elastic, I hadn't got the knack of inserting the elastic, so the elastic was kind of a little bit loose. So I had a little play, and I think I've got the knack of how tight to pull the elastic now, and I've made a few pairs to show you. So yeah, I've got a little pile of pants here, and I use fold over elastic as the elastic. I really like how that looks. I think it gives quite a clean, simple finish. I don't like anything too frilly or itchy for pants. So I made some pairs in this blue and white stripy fabric. The only adjustment I made for my 12 version was I just brought down the rise by 1.5 centimetres because I found it was coming up a little bit higher than my normal pants I wear. So I brought it down 1.5 centimetres, and that gives me quite a comfy size pant for me. But I didn't make any adjustments to the leg opening. I find that really comfy. So yeah, that's my first pair. I made this using scraps from a dress I made last year for the Frugal Frocks challenge, where you had to make a dress using a fabric already on your stash and a free pattern. And I made a dress version of the Largo tank by Itch to Stitch. It's a bit similar to this pinafore. I kind of cropped off the Largo tank slightly. It's a jersey pattern, and then added on a skirt. I'll see if I can find a picture, and if I can put up the dress, so I could wear that dress and have matching pants now. So I made 2 pairs. Did I make 2 pairs of the blue? 1 and 2 using my white fold over elastic, and that elastic came from Guthrie Garney, and it went in really well. It folds over and it sews in really nicely. So there's my 2 pairs. You can see I've kind of got the tension on the elastic right there. I think it doesn't look like it's bagging out or too tight either. That's my first 2 pairs. Then I made 2 pairs of red stripy ones, this was fabric I used to make my mum a Freya top quite a while ago. And so I made 1 pair with the stripes all horizontal, and then I didn't have quite enough fabric to cut another pair with the stripes all horizontal. So for my second pair, I got the stripes horizontal on the front and then vertical on the back. But I think that looks fine, and it was nice to use up every scrap of that fabric. And I've also made 1 pair using some fabric I made originally a Sirocco jumpsuit by Deer and Doe in. It's this cute sort of black fabric with these little sort of white little sort of all sort type bits on it. So yeah, that's my 5th pair. So I've made 5 pairs, and I've got a couple more cut out. Just batch cut a load. But someone asked in my last video if I could show how tight I pull the elastic when I'm inserting it, because I think it's a bit of an act to not pulling it too tight, but not leaving it too loose either. So I thought I might pop on a bit later again with my sewing machine out and just show me inserting a bit of the elastic onto one of these pairs. So I've kind of held them back so I can show you that. So I've really enjoyed making those pairs of pants. It's quite satisfying actually, and they do sew up quite quickly. And because I'd really enjoyed them, I went on to make a couple of pairs for my daughter, because I downloaded the free pattern by Nielsen, the mini acacia pants pattern. There's an adult version and a children's version. And I hadn't got the adult pattern for me because it comes up as a lower rise version, and I wanted something a little higher rise, so I went for the iris knickers. But for my daughter, I thought that would be perfect because it looked quite similar to the shape of the knickers she already likes to wear. And I had some leftover fabrics from her, so I made a couple of pairs of those, and I'll show you them too. And they're really sweet to sew because they're so small. So here's a little pair I made using this turquoise fabric with unicorns on that originally was a dress for her, so I had a little bit left of that. And you'll see I used some pink fold over elastic. I spotted on Guthrie Garney that I just bought black and white for myself, but I spotted they had pink and I thought she'd really like that. So I've got some here so you can see it's exactly the same elastic, only pink, and I thought I'd show you on it. It has a sort of silky, sort of shiny side and a matte side, and I used the matte side for my pants, but I asked my daughter and she wanted to have the sort of silky shiny side on show, so you can see on her pants they're a bit more sort of shiny on the elastic. And then I also made a pair in this cute Cath fabric that again I'd made a dress for her out of. Actually, I also had quite a lot of this fabric. I must have over ordered for some reason, and I've also made a little pair of pyjama shorts and little t-shirt, or it's a pink t-shirt, and I had a little pocket with this fabric with a little Cath on too. So she was very tickled. She's already worn this pair and she wore it in bed, so she had matching t-shirts and knickers and shorts on, and she was quite tickled by that. So it was nice to whip up a couple of pairs for her too. And again, I'm going to make some more because I think her existing pants are getting a bit small, or some of them are getting a bit tatty. So it'll be nice to actually, just make some new ones with what I already have. And I thought I'd mention actually, because it was a bit interesting seeing that there's a different construction between the Iris knickers and the Megan Nielsen acacia pants. And it applies to both the adult acacia pants and the mini acacia pants, because I had a look at both patterns. But the interesting thing is it's a slightly different in construction. So with the Tilly and the Buttons pants pattern, you attach the elastic before you start the side seams. You kind of attach it all the way along the leg opening. And then you kind of basically pull the elastic the amount you need to kind of get the right tension. So they don't tell you how much elastic you should cut. You kind of have to just figure it out a little bit by having a go and pulling the elastic with a tension. But for the Megan Nielsen pants, they start by you sew the whole pant first, and then once the pants are sewn up, you cut the elastic the right size and then sew the elastic together and then insert it in the round. So it's a slightly different finish. And I personally prefer the Tilly and the Buttons way, because I'm not a big fan of quartering elastic and quartering leg holes and things. I've done that a bit when I've made bikinis and swimwear, and it's always one of my least favourite bits, kind of dividing up and quartering and everything. And I quite like being able to kind of just pull the elastic to the right tension and get a feel for it myself. So I decided when I made my daughter's mini acacia pants just to do it the way the Tilly and the Buttons instructions go, and just pull the elastic round, and then once I'd actually insert the elastic, then to sew the little side seam afterwards. So you do end up with a little join here of the elastic, and I guess if you use the acacia pants way, that would all be kind of concealed because you kind of wrap the elastic on top, so it might give a slightly neater finish perhaps. But I think the finish on this, the way doing it this way, is absolutely fine, and it's just my personal preference, and it's a lot quicker as well, rather than having to spend the time cutting the elastic to the right length and then quartering it all up and inserting like that. I think I'm more confident I'll get the right tension if I'm just pulling it myself and doing it like that. So I thought that was quite interesting. And the other difference as well is the way that the gusset is inserted is again a bit quicker on the Tilly and the Buttons pattern. With the Tilly and the Buttons pattern, the gusset kind of is open at the front. There's just one layer of gusset, and you kind of overlock the front bit and then attach it on to the two pants pieces, which is the front piece and the back piece. But with the Megan Nielsen acacia pattern, you have 4 pattern pieces. You have a front and a back and 2 gusset pieces. And you kind of attach the gusset pieces using the burrito method. So you kind of attach one, and then you kind of roll up the front and back, and then lie the other one over the top and sew, and then pull it out. So it's just quite interesting seeing the difference in construction between the two types of pants. So I think I marginally prefer the way the Iris knickers are constructed, and they come together a little bit quicker too, which I find a bit more satisfying. But that's where I've got to on pants. So I'm quite enjoying using up some scraps on those. So I'll hopefully end up with a good pile for me and my daughter. And actually, one other thing I wanted to mention about pants was actually to ask you guys a question. I have some leftover scraps from clothes I've made my son too, and he was quite interested in me making him some pants, and I wasn't sure if anyone knew of a good pattern for boys, sorry I said pants, for boys, what do you call boys knickers? I don't know, for boys kind of underpants type garment. Actually, I'll just go and get a pair of his underpants so you can see the style he likes, so I'll back in a moment. So I'm back now. I just went and grabbed a pair of my son's underpants from his drawer, and this is the style he likes. So just kind of a pant shape, but it's a slightly different top, I guess. It's almost like the fabric's been sort of folded over and elastic's been inserted. So yeah, just a slightly different style to a girl's pants with a sort of fold over elastic or lace elastic on them. So I was wondering if anyone had any recommendations, as I said, for boys' underpants that might work for him. He is 8 going on 9 sort of size and age. So yeah, if anyone has any recommendations, I'd be very grateful. But that is, I think, all I have to say about pants or knickers or panties for now. Yeah, just really enjoying giving that Iris knickers pattern a go, and the mini acacia pattern too. And I think the mini acacia pattern, all I had to do was sign up to the Megan Nielsen newsletter, and then you gain access to their free pattern files. And there's the acacia pants, the mini acacia pants, and there's some other nice patterns there too. So yeah, that was good to have access to those patterns. And maybe I'll try the acacia adults knickers at some point, but I really like the Iris ones actually, so I might just stick to those. So that's all on those, but I thought I'd mention what else I've been up to. So One quick project I did this week was I just whipped up my husband a pair of Hudson pants by True Bias using the men's Hudson pants pattern. So I thought I'd show them to you now. I feel like I've said pants quite a few times now with in relation to knickers, but I'm actually talking about the joggers now. So here are the joggers I made for him. I made them in this black French terry fabric I got from Minerva. It's a medium weight French terry. He doesn't like anything too thick, so that's perfect for him, I think, something fairly lightweight. So yeah, I just made them in his standard size that fit his measurements. I didn't need to make any adjustments. The only adjustment I did make was on the cuffs on the ankles. I made the pattern piece a bit larger just because once the French terry's folded over, it's not as stretchy as a ribbing fabric. So I thought just to make it a bit easier for him to get them on and off, I widened those a little bit. But otherwise they're just the classic Hudson pants. I added on the little, are they called eyelets, using my Prim pliers, and added on little black cord to match. And yeah, they're ready for him to go. I did say to him, do you mind not wearing them until I've shown them on the video? Because I finished those a couple of days ago. So he's been in his navy ones, but he's pleased to have another pair just to chill in the evening. So that was a nice quick project. It's one I kind of don't really need to think too much about because I've made so many pairs for me and my children and my mum and my husband as well. So yeah, that was a quick project. I also got started on my Kelly anorak, but I haven't got very far yet. So where's my Kelly anorak? So if you saw my Make 9 2022 plans, you'll know one of the patterns I would like to make in 2022 is the Kelly anorak by Closet Core Patterns. It's a pattern I've had in my pattern pile for ages, and I've had the fabric for ages too. And I just thought if I put it on my Make 9 2022, it would encourage me to finally get started on this one. And I'd like to make this version here with the hood. So it's quite a classic anorak, and I'd like to make this drawstring casing around the waist too. And I'm going to make it lined. I haven't decided on the lining fabric yet. But yeah, I just thought I'd get started on a toile of it because I wanted to check the fit before I cut into my proper fabric, because it's so many different pieces and everything. I don't want to get too far down the line on my real fabric and find that actually the fit isn't that great. So I thought I'd just take this one in baby steps. So what I did as a first port of call was I made myself a little list of all the pattern pieces I need to cut out. It's a really long list. There's this side and this side too. I think there are 25 pattern pieces in all. That's with the lining pieces as well. So yeah, it's quite a long list, but I thought I'll just take it in bite-sized pieces, and I drew myself some little extra boxes down the side. And I went through and I've traced out all of these pieces from the pattern. And I decided to go exactly on my measurements, and then I thought I could always adjust from there. So I went for a size 2 on the bust, and then I graded out to a size 6 on the hips, because the bust is 32 and the hips is 36, and the size 4 in the middle is my waist, which is 26. So I thought if I start from a size 2 and grade out to a 6, I'd be approximately a size 4 in the middle at the waist. So based on that, I've traced out all the pattern pieces, which took quite a while, but it's quite satisfying when I finished. And then I went through and I've cut out all of the pieces in my toile fabric. So I'm just using some calico and then some poly cotton lining, so it's definitely not going to be a wearable toile, but I think there might be some tweaking needed, so I don't want to feel too precious about the fabric. So that is where I've got to, so I feel that's quite an achievement anyway, because that's 50 pieces in total if you include tracing and cutting out. And I've now put them away, and I think I'll go back to them at some point when I'm feeling in the mood for getting stuck into that project, but I'm pleased to have at least got started on that one. But the project I'm actually working on now, and I've started, is the, where is it? It's a cosy sweatshirt that I wanted to get finished sooner rather than later while the weather's so cold outside. And it's using this pattern here, which is another one I got for Christmas. It is the Mylen sweatshirt by Closet Core Patterns, and it's a pattern I wanted for a while, ever since they brought it out. And it's got some really interesting sweatshirt details on. There is a hooded version with this sort of crossover front and a kangaroo pocket. There's this cool version with this little sort of tie bit at the front. But for my version, I decided to go for View A, which is this more classic sweatshirt. It's got a slight dropped sleeve, sort of a round neck, but it's got a few interesting details actually, and more interesting details than I realised until I started to trace out the pieces. One thing I didn't realise I thought I'd show you is the sleeve detail. Here is the front sleeve pattern piece, and it's got some darts in the sleeve pattern piece. So I've never seen that on a jersey pattern before that I've made. So I'm really looking forward to trying that out and yeah, seeing how those darts work and how it is. I'm using quite a sort of thick fleecy fabric. I'll show you how far I've gotten it because I've started sewing this one up. I'm using this really lovely Mylen the Maker fleece back sweatshirt that I got from Minerva in this really pretty lilac colour. And I started sewing up the body, and I've inserted the ribbing neckband here, so you can see. But the fit fabric, as you can see, is really, really cozy. So I'm not sure how the darts will work on such a cozy, thick fabric. But the pattern does say, it's one of the fabric recommendations is like a fleecy sweatshirt. It says choose thicker fabrics like cotton fleece, polar fleece, etc. So I'm hoping it'll be fine. And I do find closet core patterns pretty good. So this is mine so far. It's got this interesting detail at the front with this kind of diagonal seam. And I've top stitched the seams down there at the front, you can see. It's also got this yoke on the back, which I've top stitched down again. You could add top stitching on the shoulder seams too, but I decided instead to press them open, just so they weren't too bulky on the shoulder. So yeah, that is where I'm up to. I'm hoping to get to that finished this week so I can enjoy it while the weather's really cold. I might actually carry on sewing this one today. Yesterday I had quite a busy day and I was rushing around and getting a load of things done, but today I haven't got too much on, so I'm hoping to get a bit of sewing time. So I might carry on with this one, so I might be able to show you this one in my next midweek sewing catch up. So yeah, that's how I'm getting on with that one. Oh, and I thought I'd mention in terms of sizing on the Mylen sweatshirt pattern, I decided to go for the smallest size because when I was looking at the finished garment measurements, it looked like it was going to be quite oversized with plenty of ease. So I sized down because I didn't want it to be really, really oversized. And I think somebody had mentioned it does come up large. So I went for the size 0, which is for a bust 31 inches, a waist 24 inches and a hips 33 inches. And my measurements are 32, 26, 36. They are a bit bigger, but the finished garment measurements look like that'll be fine. And then the only adjustments I made was I lengthened the sleeves slightly because that's an adjustment I often have to do on patterns. And I also lengthened the body. I actually lengthened the body quite a lot by 3 inches because when I traced the pattern piece out and held them up to my body, it looked like it would come up quite cropped. And I wouldn't mind that if I was kind of going to wear it out as kind of a wearing out type sweater. But I really wanted this for hanging around the home, keeping cozy sweatshirt. So I thought it'll be nice if it definitely covered over my midriff and kind of went a little bit down over the top of my jogging bottoms. And I've got a couple of pairs of jogging bottoms that are a little bit more low rise. So I thought if I lengthened it, that would hopefully cover me up and keep me comfy and cozy around my sort of tummy area. So that is my plan. But I think what I'll do is once I've kind of got it all, the sleeves added in and that sort of thing, I'll put it on and see how long it looks. And if it looks like it's going to come up really too long, I can always crop it off a little bit. Then it'll be easier to take it off than add it on later. So that is my plan with this one, but it's really nice fabric to sew with. I think because it's such thick sweatshirt fleece, it's quite stable to sew with. It's not too stretchy and prone to stretching out of shape or anything. So, and I'm using my walking foot. So that is what I'm working on at the moment. So I think that's everything I've got to share with you at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get a couple of jobs done. I need to pack my daughter's stuff for swimming because she's got swimming after school today and a couple of other bits I need to do. And then I'm going to turn my sewing machine on and I'll hopefully then pop on again and show you how tight I pull the elastic on the iris knickers when I'm inserting that. So I will see you again in a moment. Bye. Hello, I've got my jobs done now, which is nice, and I've got a bit of time to sew. So I'm planning on finishing those 2 pairs of pants. So I've got my sewing machine now and I've threaded it with black thread and I've started sewing my pants. So I've got the pieces all sewn together with the gusset added. And I've done the stay stitching down the side of the gusset to make sure that when I insert the elastic, it doesn't sort of come apart. And I'm ready to put the elastic on the legs now. So I've got my fold over elastic and you start it so you kind of put it underneath the right side of the fabric here at the top, just kind of halfway along. And so you're kind of sewing down this side and then you fold it over and attach it to the front afterwards. So I guess you get the neat finish on the front. So I usually start mine by attaching a little pin and then I kind of do the initial knot on the sewing machine or sort of the forward and backward stitch to get it secured, and then I take the pin out and I don't add any pins and just sort of lead it with my hand. So that is what I'm planning to do. So yeah, I'm just ready to go. And so what I'll do is I'll turn the camera around and try and show you a close-up of that bit on the machine so you can see how much I'm pulling. Oh, and I forgot to mention actually, this fabric is one I use to make a Freya top for myself out of, so another little scrap. And I also I'm not sure if I mentioned specifically, but the pants are really comfy actually. I've tried wearing the pairs I've made and they are really comfy pants, so I definitely think I'm going to make my own pants going forward, and I've still got loads of scraps, so I won't need to buy much fabric for them. But I'll turn the camera around and show you how much I pull the elastic when I'm inserting it right now. So yeah, hopefully I'll get a good angle. See you in a mo. So hopefully you can see my sewing machine and the bit down here, okay? So I've got my elastic and my fabric in place, ready to sort of put on the elastic and insert it. And I've been using a 3x3 zigzag. I think the pattern says 2.5 by 2.5, but actually my machine on the length doesn't do a 2.5, it only does a 2.4 and 2.6, and I could do one of those, but actually I quite like the size 3. I think I've used it on swimwear before, so that's the elastic stitch I'm going to go for. So I'm going to do a little knot at the start to fix the thread in place, and then I'll remove the pin, and then I'll show you how much I pull the elastic. So just start off. So now I've got a few stitches. I'll take the pin out and I can pull the elastic. So I find if you kind of leave it sort of fairly loose like this, there's not enough tension in it. But if you kind of pull it super tight like this, it'll be too tight. So I kind of just give it a sort of medium pull, about that much, to keep it taut. And then I kind of just guide the fabric through as it goes, just gradually moving it along like that, and just gradually sort of moving it through my fingers like that as I go. So I'll try and speed up this bit and just show you a whole leg and then show you how it turns out. But I take it quite slowly, no rush, just take my time. And I'm trying not to pull the jersey fabric, the actual knicker fabric at all, because if I pull that, it will start to stretch out of shape. So I'm leaving that one fairly loose and only pulling on the elastic. And I do have my walking foot in place behind. You can see this bit here, that's my built-in walking foot on my machine, so I'm definitely using that. Ties a knot at the end. And there we are, and I just cut it off with a little bit of extra elastic. So I'll turn the camera back around and show you the pants. So I've just attached that leg elastic now, and I'll show you here a little bit of it. So you can see there's a slight wave to the fabric because the elastic's pulling it a little bit in. I think it's good to have a little bit of that, otherwise once you sew all together it can be a little bit too loose. So my plans now are to fold the elastic over and then top stitch it on this side down, again using a 3x3 zigzag. So hopefully that'll give a nice finish. So I'll do that and I'll show you the final pair of pants. So I'm just popping back on now as I've just finished sewing up that pair of pants. So here they are, and I thought I'd mention one thing in particular. I mentioned how I was going to fold the elastic over and top stitch it after I'd inserted it. When I top stitch the elastic, I don't pull on it at all as it goes through the machine. I just let the feed dogs and the walking foot take it through the machine without any pulling. I think if you pulled on it at that stage, it might start stretching out. So I thought I'd mention that, and I thought I'd mention also that I used the 3x3 zigzag stitch again to a top stitch the elastic on the outside. So that is how it ends up looking. But yeah, I'm pleased with how that pair of pants turned out. I know they're going to be really comfy to wear. I think yeah, it's a perfect shape for me, and I'm really excited to be able to have lots of homemade pairs of pants in my wardrobe and be able to use up scrap fabric too. So I'll definitely recommend, if you haven't tried sewing pants, you give it a go. They're really speedy, satisfying makes and great scrap busters too. So I'm going to make my second pair up, and then I think I'll probably finish sewing knickers for myself for a while. But I'm going to sew a couple more pairs for my daughter, and if I can find a good pair of underpants pattern for my son, I'd like to sew some for him too. So that is my plan on that front. And then today I'm also hoping to do a bit more on my Mylen sweatshirt by Closet Core. I'm really looking forward to trying out those sleeve darts and seeing how they look. I'm quite intrigued by them. So that is my plan. So I think I'll probably finish this vlog here and get on with a little bit of sewing. I thought I'd mention though, next week, instead of doing a midweek sewing catch up, my plan for next week is to do a week of sewing and chat. And that's a video I try and do once a month, where I pop on every day in the week and share a bit about what I'm up to, what I'm wearing and what I'm doing on the sewing front across the week. So I guess it's kind of an extended midweek sewing catch up across the week, and I usually post that video then on the Saturday morning. So it won't be this Saturday, it'll be the Saturday after. this Saturday I've got a different vlog planned to come out. So I thought I'd mention that I won't be on for the midweek sewing catch up next week, but if you want something similar, it'll be a chatty vlog on the Saturday instead. So I'll probably finish up here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed episode 2. I've really enjoyed popping on and having a chat with you guys. And I hope you're having a lovely day whatever you're up to, and I hope maybe you can fit a bit of crafting in too. That is always lovely to get a bit of crafting fitted in today. I think it always lifts my mood. So if you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel and you're enjoying this type of vlog and me talking about sewing, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. And if you press the bell icon, then you'll be notified when I bring out my future videos. So thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Midweek Sewing Chat, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!